that can make a real difference for our country's development. Moldova's story is one of resilience. Despite challenges, our entrepreneurs continue to innovate, our institutions continue to reform, and our people continue to dream big. Investment plays a crucial role in turning these aspirations into reality. And when we speak about investment, we speak not only about the capital, but also about know-how, networks, and trusts. Events like this connect the dots between Moldova and Europe, between government and the private sector, between ambition and opportunity. To officially open today's discussion, we are privileged to hear from two distinguished leaders whose perspectives will set the tone for our today's discussion. First, I am pleased to invite Ms. Natalia Bejan, Director of Invest Moldova Agency. In her remarks, Ms. Bejan will highlight Moldova's investment vision, the strategic role of agency, and the partnerships we are building to position our country as a trusted destination for capital and innovation. Natalia, the floor is yours.
Merci. Good afternoon, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen. This is basically the second half of the last day of Moldova Business Week platform and events. But I can certainly say that this is one of the most important events that we had to have on our agenda. Because it is one thing to do promotion of investment opportunities in Moldova, but we have to make sure that the investors coming with viable, sustainable ideas for the Republic of Moldova also have access to capital in our country. The government has done some work in this perspective to ensure that there are money in the Republic of Moldova, whether it is from local governmental institutions or it is from international partners, to make sure that businesses can access those money. If you've been present at the opening event of Moldova Business Week, you've probably also saw how we laid the foundation for the Chișinău Stock Exchange. That's one of the alternatives that at the beginning of the next year should already be practically available to the investors, companies from the Republic of Moldova, as another alternative way of diversified access to funding instruments. National programs also have their impact. I'm very happy that today we will have on stage as a speaker Vadim Codreanu, the director of the ODA, Entrepreneurship Development Organization. Their program 373 has really brought significant impact on our economy. That's why we see their budgets increasing, and that's why we see more investments in the private sector mobilized here in the Republic of Moldova. But we care not only about large investments, we also care about early stage startups. That's why today you will also hear from Mihai Stepanov from Mosaic that has built one of the first business angels communities for startups looking for 50,000, 30,000, 100,000, 200,000 euros investments, because these investments are also very important to strengthen the pipeline of funding for the innovative startups. But of course, and I think this is what most of you are also expecting, is to hear from the international financing institutions, those big names that also are offering access to the big capital and have financed so many investment projects in the Republic of Moldova. We will hear today from EBRD, IFC, UMIF, Horizon Capital, and ARP, a Polish fund, who is planning to enter the Republic of Moldova within the next few months. Not the least important, but probably one of the most important highlights of the event is the technical workshop part where the European Commission will present the details of the call that was launched just a couple of weeks ago for mobilization of large investments exceeding 10 million euros from European investors to the Republic of Moldova. And we are very happy, and I have extremely big expectations from this call, to be honest, because I do believe if we unite forces, if we show here openness in the Republic of Moldova, and we have such strong partners as the European Commission, Commission to mobilize and to inspire European investors to come to Moldova, I think our chances to succeed are much bigger. And I'll give you also one small secret, but maybe it's not a secret. On Monday, there is going to be a presentation of yet another investment funding opportunity from the Black Sea Trade and Development Bank, who will announce their own program for investments and funding into the businesses in the Republic of Moldova. For a small country, for us, making sure that the funding is not only accessible, but it brings good results is not just a number. We have to, because we are such a small economy, we have to be extremely competitive. We have to show that every single dollar, euro, or leu is available at a very good price and is invested in the best way possible. And this can be done only when there is a joint force of the private sector, who has to be the driver, of the public sector, who ensures that there are no blockages and is as easy for the business to go ahead as possible, and of course as well our international partners, those institutions that can offer that access to a larger funding for the businesses in Moldova. So on behalf of Invest Moldova Agency, I thank you first of all that you chose to be here to spend the Friday afternoon with us, and I wish you as much as possible to have part of a pragmatic or very productive and insightful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia, for your insightful remarks. Next, I am honored to invite Ms. Natalia Selevestru, State Secretary at the Ministry of Economic Development and Digitalization. Ms. Selevestru will share briefly the government's perspective on Moldova's economic agenda.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and partners. It's an honor to me to welcome you all today to this forum dedicated to unlocking capital for Moldova's growth. This event comes at a strategic moment. Moldova is accelerating its integration into the European Union economic space and building the financial architecture needed to transform our economy, increase productivity, and create sustainable jobs. I would like to present only two of the newest initiatives proposed by the Minister of Economic Development and Digitalization of the Republic of Moldova. One of our flagship reforms is the creation of the Fund of Funds instrument that will be implemented under the Entrepreneurship Development Organization. By the end of this month will be approved the government decisions that will allow us to make the Fund of Funds operational. We aim to support the development of several equity and venture capital funds and also attract regional funds to invest here in Moldova. For both types of funds, we will allocate public resources in the form of first loss tranche. For equity funds, first loss tranche will be up to 3 million euro per each fund, with a minimum leverage ratio of 1:3, meaning that for each leu invested from public resources, at least 3 lei will be mobilized from private investors and development partners. For venture capital funds, the first loss tranche will be up to 1 million euro per fund with a leverage ratio of 1:1. Equity funds will provide long-term financing for SMEs with investment ticket from €500,000 up to 4 million. Investments will target priority sectors such as agri-food, pharmaceuticals, renewable energy and the green transition, textiles, construction materials, electronics, but also IT innovations, sectors that have a high growth and export potential. We believe that these funds will support business growth not only by providing long-term financing, but also by strengthening companies' capacity, improving their corporate governance, and preparing them to access EU funds, both in the pre-accession and post-accession stages. In parallel, we launched already a complementary support instrument, the Regional State Aid Scheme for Investments. This scheme offers a mix of corporate income tax relief and investment grants for companies in industries such as agri-food processing, light industry, chemical and pharmaceuticals, electronic and automotive components, and furniture manufacturing, that implement initial investment projects of at least €500,000 up to €20 million per investment. This scheme is open both to local but also foreign investors. The total budget of this scheme is about €100 million and will support around 150 enterprises. Eligible projects must be located here in Moldova, and the priority industrial sectors I already mentioned above, and the investment might be maintained for at least 5 years in case of large companies and for at least 3 years in case of SMEs. The scheme provides a stable, predictable, and competitive fiscal environment for investors who create new capacities, diversify production, and introduce advanced technologies. Together, these two tools, the Fund of Funds and the Regional State Aid Scheme, are the backbone of our new national investment framework, a framework designed to share risk, leverage private capital, and reward long-term commitment to Moldova. Today's discussions are not only an excellent opportunity to build strong partnerships between international investors and Moldova's public authorities and entrepreneurships, but this is really the way to have a lot of success stories here in Moldova. And I thank you all, and I wish you all fruitful exchanges and new partnerships today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Silvestru, for your valuable contribution and for highlighting the government's priorities in advancing Moldova's economic agenda. Your perspective is essential in shaping a stronger country for us. So, thank you very much once again, Natalia and Ms. Silvestru, for your inspiring opening remarks and for setting the stage for today's discussion. Your words remind us that Moldova's economic transformation is not just a national agenda, but a collective journey that involves government, entrepreneurs, and international partners working together. With this vision in mind, we now move to our first panel, EU Supporting Investment Opportunities in Moldova, call for expression of interest for EU, EEA, Moldova, businesses to invest in the Republic of Moldova. When we talk about EU support, we do not only mean access to finance. We mean opening doors for Moldovan companies to grow beyond borders. We mean building bridges for entrepreneurs who are ready to scale. And most importantly, we mean creating trust and stability, because trust is the first currency of any investment. This initiative is a chance for our businesses to be seen, to be supported, to be heard, and to be connected with European investors. It is also a chance for European businesses to discover Moldova. Today, we are privileged to have with us representatives of the European Commission who will share both the framework and practical opportunities that this initiative creates. I am delighted to hand over the role of the host for this panel to Mr. Alexandru Daras, business developer at the European Commission, who will guide the discussion together with his colleagues, Ms. Alice Bigenzoli and Magdalena Cuneva. Alexandru, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Magdalena. Okay. Hello, everybody. Bună ziua. It's really a great pleasure for me to be, every time I come back to Moldova. For those who don't know, it's a country where I lived 6 years and a half among the best years of my life together with my family, so it's a great pleasure to be here. So now I'm here working from Brussels to present the call for expression of interest for investments in Moldova. The way we organized it is that I will make a small presentation, rather short. After, I will have two colleagues from Brussels, Alice and Magdalena, who will go a bit deeper in some of our instruments. And after, in principle, we should have a lot of time for exchange because really the goal is to answer to your questions. That's how we've seen this exchange. So, the call for expression of interest for Moldova. Here we go. Okay. So what's the overall objective of this call? The goal of this call, yes, is to stimulate the investments in the framework of the growth plan for Moldova. You know that the growth plan for Moldova is our key strategy together with our key plan, let's say, together with the Republic of Moldova to accelerate growth, stimulate the economy. We are promoting reforms in the country, business-oriented reforms. We are opening up the access to the EU single market. We are investing in a strategic infrastructure that makes the country more attractive and more business efficient. And we are opening up also more opportunities to support directly the private sector. The call, the way we did it, we built it on it's a new way of working of the European Commission, and we built it on the model of two similar calls, more or less, that we launched lately, one for Ukraine and one for the Western Balkans. The objective in general is to engage in a dialogue with private companies on concrete investment opportunities in Moldova, which are along our growth plan, along the Global Gateway Strategy. Just for information, the Global Gateway Strategy is the global strategy of the European Union to support investments and invest also in infrastructure. And the final goal, concretely, would be for us to build a pipeline of some transformative, attractive investments coming from your ideas, you private sector, that potentially us Commission and our partner financial institutions, we could support with the instruments that we have available. So, what are the general criteria of this call? Obviously, call for investments for Moldova, so we want investments to come and to be done on the territory of the Republic of Moldova. It's open, so the participants, the people who will answer to this call, is really you, private sector. Companies, can be private enterprises, joint venture, consortium of companies. We are not picky on the nature of the thing, really, as long as it comes directly from the private sector. We are looking at companies from the European Union, because one thing is we would like to attract more EU companies to come to Moldova, also from the European Economic Area, and companies from Moldova, which are already Moldovan here and so on. And obviously, since we talk about consortium and so on, it can be a mix, a partnership, a consortium between a Moldovan and a European company. It's really most welcome, even symbolically. I think it looks good. That's exactly this principle of bringing Moldova within the EU and doing things together. Of course, we had to set a minimum threshold. Unfortunately, we cannot accept all the investments. We have many tools for SMEs and so on, but this kind of call is that we are looking at quite impactful investments. So we set a limit at 10 million euros, which what we calculated can be symbolic, transformative enough for Moldova. To be honest with you, we've carefully looked at that. For the call for Ukraine, we had put a threshold at 50 million euros. So of course, we adapted also to the economy and so on, but we couldn't go too low. And we will request from the companies some skin in the game, I would say, some own equity participation by project promoter at 15% of the total value of the investment. So what are the areas of the call? You will see it's quite large. It was discussed based on our priority of the growth plan, discussion, the strategic development of Moldova with the government and so on. But overall, the sectors which we consider priority for this call are energy and green transition, agriculture, agri-food industry, rural development, which includes also tourism, by the way, advanced manufacturing and industrializations, information technology, digital innovation, applied research, infrastructure and connectivity, transport, logistics, digital systems, and health, life sciences, digital health, innovation. I think if you see all these sectors, you understand that it's quite large already, there's room for everybody. In case you thought that the business plans that you have in which you believe does not fit in these categories and so on, don't be scared to apply honestly, because that's indicative, these are the priority. But in the end, we don't maybe have a vision of all the potential investments in this country. What matters for us is that you believe that it's an investment that will be impactful and make a change in this country. So don't be scared to apply, even if you don't see exactly your sector mentioned in this criteria. What are the main selection criteria? Of course, it's policy priority. We want things to be in line with the sectors a bit that I described and wider, the spirit of this type of investments that will make a change to Moldova, that are attractive and strategically interesting for the country. We want projects that will have some impact, obviously, some scale, some innovation. So the more it's something new, innovative, the more it's likely that, yes, we will rather select this project rather than another, because the idea is to bring things that are not necessarily done, or it could be seen done, but you scale up, you go to a wider level, more innovative or much bigger. That's a bit the idea. Bankability, because unfortunately we do not live in a parallel world where we have money that could be used for anything. So yes, of course we have to look a bit at the track record, the borrowing capacity, the business model of your investment proposals, and the maturity. It doesn't have to be finalized at the stage of being financed, because otherwise you would not necessarily need to reply to this call. But of course, the more mature it is and the more concrete it is, the more there's chance that we can do something together. What are the support instruments that we have? My colleagues, Alice and Magdalena, will go a bit more in details on two of them, but just to give you a general picture. Usually the European Union, when we talk about what we can do with the private sector, it's mainly the loans that we have available from our partner IFIs, just to give you names, EBRD, EIB, KfW, AFD. The EU guarantees, because the EU is providing some guarantee to some of these loans, to make them more attractive, better financial conditions, and to back up and to cover some of the risk, permitting to the banks to take more risk to support specific investments. We have some technical assistance support, which is available to help shape these investments, to prepare them, and so on. For some of the projects with wider public benefits, some grants elements, blended, can be considered. And then we have other support measures that it's really all the projects will be case by case, depending on what is kind of support needed. One thing also wanted to say that sometimes maybe there could be some proposals where actually you don't need direct support or direct money. But there's a problem maybe with the surrounding environment, where some infrastructure would be missing, where some skills would be missing for you to develop your business. I don't know, not enough engineers in this sector in Moldova. That's potentially an area there where we could sneak in, because that's part of the idea, to get the ideas from your investments, and then the EU can, together or along with the government of Moldova, try to develop the surrounding environment that you are missing for you to take the decisions to go and invest or not. So, regarding the submission, how it works, so there's a link on the site of DGNS. You go on the page of DGNS Business Opportunities webpage. The call is now open. It was open during the visit of our commissioner 2 weeks ago, Marta Kos. So there's a new user. Trust us, we try to make it honestly as simple as possible. We are well aware about the importance of time for the business sector. We are very respectful of your time and so on. So there's an EU survey. So it's not a tender in a sense that you have to fill in 200 pages of documents and proofs. That's not the way it works. You have a survey which is more or less 2 pages. I think in 10 minutes you can fill it in. There's a short project fiche where we ask a few questions about your business model, your track record, the relations you have had already with banks on your project and so on. It's something like, we should be 3-4 pages. We obviously ask a bit of a document presenting the governance and ownership of your company, because we need to be sure that we talk about EU, EEA or Moldovan companies. A basic declaration on owner, and a few documents that you may submit if you want. It's up to you. If you want to give us additional documents to make your case, please do, but the idea is not to send us a feasibility study package. Just, you can mention it, but no need to send too much. It's not... Okay. So what are the next steps? Where do we stand now? So the portal was opened following the presentation and the opening by Commissioner Kos. So now it's available on the portal. The fact is on the portal. Frequently asked questions. You will see we took some time really to gather 75 type of questions that could be around this call and so on. But so go through it really. It will. I mean, we will have a discussion today. But you will see it's based on the other call, the experience of what we know are the questions. So it's available. Now we are in a process where we are doing the outreach of the call. That's what I'm doing today, to announce everywhere. And we do so also in Europe, among member states, business associations. I was in the council on Friday to announce it. And then the way it will go is that the call is open for quite a long period, until 4th of June of next year. So you have time, fine. And every quarterly, in order not to waste time, we will evaluate the proposals that we have received. So let's say now it's by December, mid-December. So take your time. There's no rush. If you apply in 2 weeks or in 1 month and a half, would not change much. Really, take your time. But take note that if you want to be part of the first row of analysis and evaluation, where we could already engage a bit quicker with you, it will be by December. I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you, Mulțumesc. And then I will give the floor then to my two colleagues who are online. Unfortunately, we could not all come to Chișinău. So Alice and Magdalena, if you could put their presentation. So they will go a bit deeper in two of our instruments, among the whole package of instruments that we have, which are the blending grants and the guarantees. Thanks. Questions we will do after we do the presentations. Is it working? Evelina? Yeah. That's part of no. But the idea was just it's better that maybe they present a bit more the truth. But if it doesn't come, we can start the questions and no problem. Let's wait 2 minutes and after really it's actions. That's the logic of. We can wait 2 minutes. Sorry. Does it work or shall we start questions? Well, okay. It should. Okay, then they can connect later, and we. So look, I'm here to answer to the best I can to the questions you may have. So please, floor is open. Really, the goal of this session was really I didn't want to make slides too long and so on. It was more to answer to your questions because I think that's the way also you can learn and understand best the call. So please, I'm happy to take questions from the audience here or on the web. Please. Yeah. I think stand up and ask the questions. That's the best. Yeah. Maybe present yourself every time. Also. Yeah. Kert, come. Yeah, sorry. I'm with my colleague Kert, also from Brussels. We came together. I'm the one who made the presentation.
Okay,
but
thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. We are representing private investors, so for us it's very important to understand what exactly are loans, what exactly are guarantees. So guarantees where, for example, I don't know, we do not have assets to put or other businesses, for example, to go to the bank. This kind of guarantees we are talking about. Also, we have an element grant for what kind of projects will be grant. So the money will be granted, not loaned. So
Here it comes.
I think these are the questions that all of us we have. So from 1.9 billion, what exactly will be public investment? So the big infrastructure. What part will be for the private companies? From the private companies, how will be if the money, the funds will be divided between sectors, how it's presented. For example, if we will have, as a country, I mean, if we will have projects in energy infrastructure or road infrastructure already about 1 billion, so the difference will be divided between other sectors. So this, I think, need clarity at the moment. Thank you.
I'm sorry, maybe I would propose still that since colleagues are now online, will be better because they will answer to part of your questions regarding guarantees and so on. And then they take it, we will reply to the questions, and I promise we follow up on your... So, colleagues, it's okay on your side? Alice, Magdalena,
We can hear you.
Very good.
But I'm not sure you can hear us. The delegation said that they were checking, but...
We hear you, huh? It's fine.
No.
So you can start the presentation if you want.
You hear us? Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
Please go ahead. You can open the
see
slides
our
and then go.
presentation? Can you see the slides as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Just put it as a slide mode.
I will do it. It's just that... Can you... No, wait. Do you see?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, because I don't see the room, so it's a bit more difficult.
Go ahead, it's fine.
Thanks a lot, and apologies for for the small difficulties in connecting. I'm Alice Biginzali. I work with Alexandra in DG Anest, in the regional unit focusing on Moldova and working on specifically on investments. And I will present to you today a bit more in details, as Alexandra was telling us, the financial instruments that we have on the EU side. I will focus more on the blending, what we call blending, so what you see on the left hand of the slide, and Magdalena, our colleague, will come in and give you more details on the guarantees. So as you see, what we call blending is a mix of EU grants and loans of international financial institutions.
Alice, move the slide if you can.
Yes.
Next slide.
Sorry?
Next slide, because we don't see, we are always on the first slide.
You don't see the slides? I'm moving, I'm changing slides in my computer, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. What is blending? Yeah.
I'm not sure if, how you see it, but I'll try to be as clear as possible with my words, so that compensates. So we are blending EU grants with IFIs loans, so international financial institution that provide loans, and we come in with grants of different type. So grants that we give could be what we call investment grants. So really going to allocate part of the grant to the cost of the project, to reduce the cost of the project for the beneficiary of the loan. It can be a grant that is more focused on technical assistance, so supporting preparatory work regards, for example, infrastructure, so all the feasibility studies and this type of documents and details needed for starting an investment, but also could support the implementation of investment itself, depending, of course, on the type of sector we are talking in. And with blending, we also provide financial instruments that help reduce risk, but of course it's more on the, let's say, guarantee side. This element is let's say, further reinforced. One point maybe, usually blending, grants are a scarce resource. So we try to use them on either highly innovative projects, so that need maybe a more support to really kick off and then become commercially viable, or with projects that are still on the business side but have a social dimension, which means, for example, reaching vulnerable groups or underserved groups, like, for example, the women entrepreneurs or youth and young entrepreneurs. So in that sense, we try to concentrate our support in this type of sector when it comes to grants. Just to give you some examples, because I heard the question also that was done before. Indeed, we have a pot of funding that has to be allocated between different sectors. We do support infrastructure projects, which are maybe more public projects, but that, of course, private sector can come in terms of at the later stage on the procurement side, for example. So these type of projects, like, for example, more infrastructural side. We support other type of projects, more, for example, on the steel infrastructure, but more maybe on the energy efficiency measures, which are also smaller scale projects that I have received in the past also blending grants. And at the same time, we also support, let's say, access to finance programs, working with the commercial banks and supporting the loans coming from commercial banks with grants that are directly receiving the SMEs. So there are different type of support that can be provided to different sectors. Let's say that these type of instruments are quite flexible in that sense. So this is just an overview, and happy to answer any question afterwards. But maybe now I give the floor to Magdalena for the guarantee.
Thanks, Alice. Magda. Move the slide also.
And thanks a lot, and good afternoon to everybody in the audience. My name is Magdalena Kuneva. I'm the head of sector for the EU guarantees that we implement in partnership with a variety of international financial institutions who are our implementing partners. So just want to give you a very quick overview as to how the EU guarantee instrument works. Maybe if somebody can go to the next slide, please. Basically, in this financial framework between 2021 and 2027, we have an instrument known as the European Fund for Sustainable Development Plus. And Moldova is part of this instrument. Under this instrument, we provide EU budgetary guarantees that are to enable investments in our priority countries, and obviously Moldova is a high priority country for the EU. Again, the guarantees are to de-risk investments and enable projects that otherwise may not take place, or may not take place to the same extent, or could come, but could come much in a smaller scale, or be very slow to actually develop and implement in the country. We have, as my colleague previously mentioned, guarantee instruments which are specifically for public sector investments. These are large infrastructure projects. I would not like to talk about them. So let me focus on the guarantees that support investments in the private sector. As I mentioned, we do these guarantee programs with a number of institutions which can implement EU budgetary guarantees because they have undergone a process where their systems have been assessed as compliant with EU rules, and they can manage these financial instruments using the EU budget. All this means is that we are using the weight, the strength of the EU budget, of the entire EU budget, right, to be able to support investments, meaning that if there is a call on this budgetary guarantee, the EU budget could provide payment instead of a borrower, for instance, who have borrowed from a local bank. We don't cover risks 100%. It is about risk sharing and reducing risks. It's not about eliminating risks. Also, just because you have a guarantee doesn't mean that suddenly a project is a good project. The project needs to be bankable, it needs to be a good project, needs to make business case, right? Business sense. A guarantee will not make a bad project a good project. I think that's quite clear. And the way this instrument works is through a call for proposals for guarantee programs, which was launched already a few years ago to all these partners that I mentioned with whom we work. And they have proposed to us guarantee programs across 6 windows. So when my colleague Alexander talked about the private sector call, we are really looking for opportunities from the private sector call that we can then match to available instruments under these 6 windows. So we, as you can see, we have a window for SMEs. We have a window for connectivity projects, whether it's renewable energy or transportation or digital, a window for sustainable agriculture, biodiversity, forests and water, a window for sustainable cities, under which we recently had a project in Moldova, a window for sustainable finance and impact investing, and for human development, meaning health and education and basically the care industry. And this instrument is implemented globally, whom we actually work in which we implement the instrument, meaning that we're not exposed only to Moldova risk. It's very, very important that there is this risk diversification, because then Moldova can actually benefit from from larger markets, so from countries that could help to improve the overall risk pipeline, the overall risk portfolio. We have a total capacity, global capacity of 13 billion of EU guarantees externally outside the EU, and we have a guarantee capacity for our region that we follow through DGNS at around 4.3 billion euro. Now, I want to mention something which is also very good for Moldova. It's not new instrument for us per se, because this region was part of the piloting stage of the European Fund for Sustainable Development Plus, meaning that we already have some experiences from the previous period, including actually some examples of how EU budgetary guarantees have been used in Moldova. So it is actually good, because it means that as part of the private sector call, we could actually very quickly mobilize the necessary financial support. Now, if you go to the next slide, just to illustrate what I'm describing and how this works. So on the slide, you see the partners with whom we currently have guarantee programs for the region, including Moldova. The largest one is EBRD, however, and TAP. However, we also have partnership with IFC, with KfW, with the European Association of Development Finance Institution, and a separate entity that was basically set up with them to promote investments on behalf of member state bilateral development finance institutions. So we have a variety of partners that could place these programs in Moldova. The total capacity just for your region is 800 million euro of EU budgetary guarantee available. In addition to that, we have around 25-30 million euro for technical assistance that is necessary sometimes in addition to investments to improve the bankability, to strengthen the project proposal. So it's really linked to a pipeline development support to projects or promoters, private sector companies. Now, as I mentioned, we have had a call for proposals for this type of investment programs. We have, as a result of it, agreed financial products with the implementing partners, which are the development finance institutions. We have signed or soon to sign by the end of this year this type of guarantee programs. And once we actually have a guarantee program signed, let's say, with a bank, with a multilateral financial institution, then there is a 3-year investment period within which this development finance institution that has access to the EU budgetary guarantee needs to include projects for covered by the EU guarantee. And I wanted to illustrate this because it's really hugely important, because we are actually right now entering the 3-year period. So that's why we have the private sector call, because we don't want to have only a top-down approach. We also want to have a bottom-up approach and close the gap between interest in investments and availability of pipeline for investments. And as my colleague said, we really encourage you to participate in the call, because we are in this 3-year period under which interesting projects could be included for risk sharing using the EU budgetary guarantee programs. And as shown on this slide, when we talk about budgetary guarantee, I really want to say it in a very clear way. We're not talking only about the debt finance, because sometimes, guarantee is well-established term, and often people, when we say guarantee, people think, oh, it's a loan guarantee. It's not just for loans. We could support a variety of financial products. It could be an IFI loan, IFI debt to a project, for instance, a special purpose vehicle set up to implement utility-size renewable energy investment in the country, or it could be a public-private partnership with, for instance, a municipality, or it could be also a guarantee that is available through a local financial institution, where basically the guarantee is used to share the risk on a portfolio of SMEs. And that's very important, because usually SMEs are really underserved because of collateral requirements, the high cost of such financing. So having the risk sharing supported through the EU budgetary guarantees allows better terms of financing and longer tenures, which is very important as well. In addition, it could be also guarantees that work through funds, for instance, whether these are impact funds or investment funds. It could back up equity or quasi-equity investments in companies, if that is what is required really to close a financial gap. We also have local currency solutions, and we have some specialized vehicles that aim to promote sustainable finance. I mentioned that, which means that we could support, for instance, issuances of green bonds or sustainable bonds by being an anchor investor into the bond. And that has significant crowding in impact, because other investors are more willing to come if there is basically an investment, an anchor investment that is backed by a EU guarantee. It is really a stamp of approval or of a support if there is an IFI finance attracted to the project. Normally it means that due diligence has been done. This is a good proposal. So other investors are much more willing to invest, but also we go through local banks. That's also very important, because they know the local market better and they are more willing to take risk that other partners might simply not willing to take. That's why we have the whole menu. It's not just one product. And just the final slide, just to illustrate the type of programs we have. If you could go to the next slide, and these programs are available for Moldova in the next 3-year period, for including projects under them. So I don't want to go into too much detail, but as you can see on the slide, we have 22 guarantee programs, which are very suitable to meet different needs, whether it's risk sharing needs where we need local banks, whether it is direct finance, whether it's renewable energy or agribusiness or access to finance, or digital or projects which are connectivity projects. 22 guarantee programs are available. We have some innovative solutions for funds, for instance, that allow exits from funds. It provides a sort of insurance to investors, to funds, and that is very reassuring because it addresses a significant market barrier linked to the liquidity of these assets. So the guarantee programs are available, and basically what really we need to do next is to now match this offer from the EU that is supported by the strength of the EU budget with the real tangible projects, and that's why this conference is so important for us. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Alice, Magdalena. Good if you can stay online in case for the questions. So, just, you got more information a bit about the guarantees, the wind functions, about the blending and so on. Just to summarize behind the idea of the call. So, you see that we have many instruments of different types through different partners. That's sometimes a bit maybe complicated to find out. So somehow the idea of this call is to simplify a bit the process. All these things continue and go in parallel, and please continue using, don't wait for the call to do business with the normal instruments that we have and so on. But the idea of the call is that it gives you the opportunity for once to tell us directly to the Commission, highest level, it will go quite high and so on, about your investment ideas. And then, if we find it interesting and it enters in what we want to do on Moldova, we will take a role together with you to do the matchmaking with the instruments that we have, knowing that sometimes these instruments are in different places and so on, and we tend everybody, because that's the way it's done, to attack it from in separate areas, but to try to unite them, because sometimes the projects need different kinds of support, and that's the idea that we would participate together with you at trying to develop the financial package together with the support that we have available among our tools, if possible. That's it. So please, now floor to you. Thanks. Oleg.
Whether and what kind of government's endorsement is required to make this kind of investment proposal eligible? Do they need any government endorsement? Thank you.
So, I would say honestly, it's a call that has been designed by the Commission, because it's based on the instruments that we have. Of course, obviously, we have had discussions of the priority section and exchange and so on, but the call as such is organized by the Commission and so on. For your proposals, in principle, we are not asking any kind of government endorsement. Now, as part of the package of how you show the, how to say, the strengths of your project and so on, since we talk about impactful projects and so on, of course, if we move forward to support the investments, and maybe because also there will be, some support also maybe needed from the government in one way or another, so certainly we will exchange at some stage, and it's very positive, but it's not compulsory, especially definitely not from the beginning. Really, the call is an exchange with the private sector to let us know, and as we build it, especially if these are big transformative investments which require a bit of public elements and so on, there will be some exchange maybe at some point, but for the start and for the beginning, definitely it's a direct relation with the Commission with the private sector.
Maybe if someone, yeah.
Artur Munteanu, GCD Management. A question related to guarantees to EFSD Plus. Can a local bank or financial institution apply for EFSD Plus, or EFSD Plus is only for DFIs and IFIs? Thank you.
Thanks. Magdalena, I would leave it to you if you don't mind.
Sure. No, it's not only for DFIs. As I mentioned, Moldova was actually part of the piloting, and the whole region was. And we already had several transactions in Moldova, 5 credit lines that were supported using a EU guarantee with 3 financial institutions in Moldova, local financial institutions. So look, the role of the development finance institutions is basically to guard the EU financial budgetary resources. But I mean, as I mentioned, when it comes to implementation, we have products that are implemented through local banks. So they could, so we provide a guarantee, for instance, to EBRD, however, or EIB, for access to finance for SMEs. However, EIB or EBRD could provide a guarantee to a local financial institution to share the risks of the portfolio of SMEs originated by the local financial institution, right? I mean, that is a typical risk-sharing product, partial portfolio guarantee product. You might, as a local financiers, you might not even be aware that there is a EU guarantee backing this guarantee, and you think the source is EBRD or EIB, but often it's not. Often behind this, there is risk sharing with the EU budget. In some cases, as my colleague Alice mentioned, for some very, very specific target groups, they might even separate support through an investment grant, which is basically a payment, investment incentive payment provided to the final borrower that could be combined with the EU guarantee that shares the risks of the local bank to provide this financing to the local SMEs. So yes, I mean, the local bank will not come directly to the EU to request the guarantee. They would still arrange the guarantee through the pillar assessed partner, that's how we call them, because they have gone through a very long process to manage EU budgetary resources, but they are ultimately a channel to implement the guarantee. I hope I answered sufficiently.
Thanks, Magda.
Good afternoon, Barbara Žáčková. I'm the Development and Economic Attaché at the Czech Embassy to Moldova. I have a question first on the submission and evaluation, because you mentioned that it's evaluated on quarterly basis, while in the materials we received earlier it was said that it's evaluated by every 2 months and it's on first come first served basis, while you said that we are not in rush. So just to clarify, what is the timeline in the submission and evaluation? And secondly, there is a single project pipeline which is on a regular basis presented by the government, by the Kancelária Stát, and we just wanted to clarify if the pipeline we are talking about here is the same single project pipeline as the one with the NIP grant projects, if we understand this correctly. And also a question about the matchmaking. If the 3 instruments mentioned, guarantee, grant and technical assistance, can be all applied at the same time at one project, or it's only one grant support per one loan in the blending? Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. I will try. I start from the last question. So, no, they can go together. It happens quite often, by the way, that the loans are guarantees and you get a grant to a project and so on. There can be some technical assistance. So, no, it's not exclusive, and it's a bit the idea also of the call to potentially put the package together. That's what I'm trying to explain. That permits to use all the different tools that we have. So, for sure, it's okay. The single project pipeline you refer to, no, it's not the same, knowing that the NIP, normally single project pipeline, is more usually big part of it on infrastructure projects that we have together proposed by our IFIS partner that we want to do in Moldova, and so it's a different framework. It could there could be some overlap, because maybe some projects could be the same, but it's a different process definitely. And regarding the evaluation, so when we had put the pre-information note, indeed we had written every 2 months, but in the last, on the site, it's quarterly, that's what we said. When I say no rush, it's because we say first come, first served, in a sense that we will start analyzing but not before 3 months, because we need to organize the process in our house, and we cannot permanently be on that. So there's no rush, let's say, between today and December. If you send it on the 1st of December or now, it's not like you will gain more points. That's not the way we want to look at things. Take your time, prepare mature projects and so on, but in order to, sometimes we organize call and there's a 9 months deadline. We didn't do it that way because we didn't want to lose 9 months. We thought maybe some ideas are already mature already. So every 3 months, we will review, when we say first come, first served, the ones that we have received in the 3 months. And maybe, therefore, after evaluation, we will already start engaging in January, February with some of you for the projects that we find good. And then it continues until June that some other companies who were not ready at that time, they continue applying and it's fine, there's no problem. So let's say, the rush, if you feel you are mature by December, please apply. By December, as I said, today or by this early December will not change anything. If you believe, okay, I need a bit more time, then apply in the next quarter. It's fine, it will be open again. That's a bit the idea. Okay? Please?
So thank you very much for the questions. Yeah, I think we kindly can ask the questions also in our coffee break.
Yeah, sure. We will be there.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
What we have just an institutional presentation. It is a roadmap of opportunities, actually. The European Commission's initiative, the call for expressions of interest, is a powerful signal that Moldova is firmly on the European investment map. It shows that there is real commitment to create the tools, the guarantees and the partnerships that can help our businesses grow, access new markets and attract investments. I would like to warmly thank our panelists for the clarity, vision and inspiration they shared. Your insights help us understand not only what instruments exist, but also how Moldovan companies can practically connect to them. Now, before we continue, I invite you to join and to enjoy a coffee and networking break. Please take this time to connect with fellow participants, to exchange ideas and build the relationships that may turn into partnerships. And one more important note, we kindly ask you to be back in the hall at 3 o'clock sharp as we will begin our second panel, National Programs Empowering Businesses. Enjoy your break and see you back here very soon. I'd ask you to take your seats because we are starting the panel right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. In our first panel, we looked at the European dimension. We now turn our focus closer to home, because while international capital is essential, no country can grow without strong national programs. This session, National Programs Empowering Businesses, is about Moldova's own capacity to create, to innovate, and to empower Moldova. Our country is not only waiting for investments to come, Moldova is actively preparing through dedicated programs, mentoring initiatives, and entrepreneurial communities. Our country is nurturing a new generation of business leaders. This is why I kindly ask you to take your seats and to be connected to this panel, because it is going to be a very interesting panel. To better understand how these national efforts are being put into practice, let us begin with the perspective of our speakers. So, I kindly invite our speakers to join us. Mr. Vadim Codranu, Director of the Entrepreneurship Development Organization, known as ODA. Next, it is my pleasure to welcome Ms. Nadezhda Hagivu, founder of MOFT. And finally, our third speaker is Mr. Mihai Stipanov, founder of Dream Apps and of the Mosaic Business Angels community. Thank you very much. So, to better understand how these national efforts are being put into practice, let us begin with the perspective of our first speaker, Mr. Vadim Codranu. Mr. Codranu will share how national programs are directly empowering business in Moldova. In particular, he will highlight the tools available for investors today, from financing schemes to support measures, and how these programs can help small and medium-sized businesses grow, innovate, and expand into the new markets. Mr. Codranu, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just learned that I have to say it in English, right? Okay. I'll try to refocus my mind now, but I think this will not be difficult because everything what we do is basically based on international experience, and probably when we do design things with our colleagues from the Ministry of Economic Development and Digitalization, we do take into consideration international experience, which is usually in English. With having that said, I can tell you that what we do represent now, and we are structured as a public institution under the Ministry of Economic Development, we are trying to replicate development financial institution which is transforming towards something related to development in general, and which means also the governance system has to be developed accordingly. Why I'm mentioning this is because the governance system is important in order to avoid fluctuations in approaches with different governments in post. We as WODA are implementers for the government for programs aiming to support business development, and we do have several pillars for that. We do manage several pillars for that. I like to think of them as pillars which do entrepreneurs see them into us. These are grant programs, these are access to finance programs or to credit finance programs, and also support to access credits via Credit Guarantee Fund, which is another tool we do manage right now. The only Credit Guarantee Fund, Moldovan Credit Guarantee Fund for SMEs, is being managed by WODA. And what we do now, we utilize resources offered by the government, but also by the development partners of the government and of WODA in order to create products to fit into the market. So when we speak about SME development, we also think of three approaches. We speak about business startups or starting a business. We speak about growth, but we will speak about embedding into international value chains. And our approach right now is not fully focused on this, but this is the direction which we are taking as an institution. Currently, we are managing 10 grant programs. Some of them are not open right now for businesses because the demand is higher than the resources we do have annually. This is good, this is a good sign, and this is also pushing us towards requesting or searching for more resources for the government. This way, we have come to a conclusion with the government that we need to bring together all these grant programs into smaller number of programs which are easily understandable by businesses. And based on this, the government has approved a new government decision on how we should do that. And based on it, we, my colleagues right now, with the colleagues from the ministry, are developing the first tool which will embed different priorities. We'll embed, I don't know, digital transformation of SMEs, we'll embed tourism, we'll embed women empowerment, and all these priorities, or most of these priorities, will be embedded within one tool, and we'll try to make it as accessible as possible for businesses. Second pillar, which I structure my mind about, is the access to finance through crediting. And here we manage the renowned 373 program. It's a program which does compensate interest rate for credits accessed by SMEs from banks. What it does basically, it allows banks to request specific credits to be introduced into this program, and WODA is compensating a part of this interest rate to the bank directly, meaning that SMEs do not have a cash flow problem and they're not exposed to interest rate fluctuations, and means that they're supported in their endeavors to invest long-term and more intensively. This is also giving them trust that they will not be prone to any fluctuations on the market, and the government is taking this buffer and is offering the support. And it's also supporting us to develop other products around this 373 program. Besides the 373 program, we have developed 2 other financial products with the resources from the government, but also offered by development partners. This is BGK, Polish Development Bank, and the German Development Bank. We do have technical assistance for this. We have our colleagues from GIZ here. We have the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. The tools which we have developed, or financial products, are using resources from the government and from the development partners. And the difference between 373 and these programs is that we do not consume public money for compensating. What we do, we just create products which are low interest, long term, and offer also a grace period for reimbursements. For that, we do partner with banks. For most of the products which we are operating right now, we are partners with all banks in the country. Some of the products are being applied for by several banks. What we try to do right now is to embed or create products which do embed different types of interventions, meaning credits with guarantees and with grants. Speaking of guarantees, guarantees are financial guarantees offered by the institution. The risk is taken by the institution. There's a not state guarantees, and we cover 50 to 80% of credit risk taken by our partner banks, of course, within some thresholds, which again are subject to be increased right now in terms of total amount, but also in terms of intensity. We want to increase it from to make more credits available for high intensity approach. Having this together within one roof or under one roof is a good chance for us, for businesses, to develop products which are embedding all these tools. It makes it easier for us, and it makes it easier also for our financial institutions partners. And we are trying to do it for businesses. Of course, there are things which have to be improved, and we are trying to do it by digitally transforming the institution. Digitally transforming meaning that we do make steps, clear steps right now to integrate our or develop and integrate our IT system with the Connect platform, or platform known by everyone, EVO. We want to create modules for SMEs or for businesses, businesses which are getting support from ODA. And this will be available in January next year, hopefully, because it's subject to a lot of risks. But that's the objective. We want to launch this for businesses, but also for us to be much easier and faster to operate. And I'm open to answer questions or to maybe contribute to some answers if necessary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Codreanu, for outlining the concrete tools and opportunities that ODA is making available to Moldovan businesses. Your insights clearly show how public programs can directly translate into growth for our entrepreneurs. Next, it is my pleasure to welcome Ms. Nadezhda Hagivu, founder of MOFT. I am certain that many of you in this room already know about MOFT and the taste of MOFT. But if not, then is definitely the moment to taste MOFT, to discover it. Nadezhda's story is a testimony to Moldova's entrepreneurial spirit, turning creativity and resilience into a growing brand. Her presentation will illustrate the perspective of a local investor, the challenges faced, the opportunities created through national programs, and the lessons learned along the way. So, Nadezhda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. So, my name is Nadezhda Hagivu. I'm founder of MOFT. MOFT in English means caprice. So, we are producing different types of nut butter, like peanut butter, almond with cherry, cashew with coconut. The taste, it's like Bounty, but no sugar is there, and also milk. Caramel sauce, caramel with real whiskey, chocolate caramel, strawberry caramel. And this year we start to produce also granola. I really love these products, so everything starts for my love. I'm still in love in peanut butter. It's so easy to use, like you just take 2 spoons and you feel full, and it's full of energy, it's tasty for me, and it's easy to use. Everything starts from a joke. I saw in the market there was no peanut butter with any preservatives or palm oil. All of them was full of sugar. I was counting always calories. So I decided to make at home peanut butter. All my friends love it. I just posted on the internet. It was a big boom. And I said, I don't know how. I don't have any background in manufacture, but I'm going to build one of the biggest manufacturers of nut butter. So I was attended a lot of local fairs in the weekend, and I saw that it's not enough to have just one machine for that. I was searching for the money and for opportunities and knowledge how to build a manufacturer. Then I discovered ODA. I saw some of the programs and I applied for them for business in women in business, young start for the young people, YECO, and also my last one was with the bank 373. And I built the semi-automatical manufacture, so now we can produce at least 2 tons of nut butters per shift, like 7-8 hours. And we can roast more than 200 nuts in 1 hour. In 4 years, we are more than 180 grocery stores in Moldova. Also, we start to do exports in Holland and Spain. We open a small shop at the manufacturer, so you can buy there also our products. And also in the city center, we open a small coffee shop, so that you can try coffees with our products and you can better understand how to use them. Also, we are making different gifts for different events and companies. And we are not stopping here. Also, we want to produce ice cream. We tried this summer to produce ice cream with local wine. It was so amazing. And for the next year, definitely we'll start with chocolate and sugar-free chocolate with our fillings. And yeah, thank you, first of all, Oda, for to be a trusted partner because of you. Also, the courses from Oda, they're really helpful for me. Like I don't have any backgrounds in business or at manufacture. Really helped me to understand better how to build a good manufacture. Also, the connection really helped me with that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Hadjevo, for sharing your journey with us. It is really interesting and impressive. Your experience illustrates the resilience and creativity of Moldovan investors and reminds us why supporting local businesses is so important. And finally, our next speaker is Mihai Stipanov, founder of DreamUps and of the Mosaic Business Angels community. Will present Mosaic, an organization that is changing how startups in Moldova access private capital. He will share why investors are increasingly betting on technology built here in Moldova. Mihai, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, I have a small presentation if you can. Great. So first of all, I want to thank Invest Moldova for inviting me here. And by the way, a round of applause for this week. It was amazing, hard work. And by the way, let's give the applause first. When you work day to day, you never, you basically miss that so many things are happening actually in Moldova. And this type of weeks, business week especially, it helps you to see by yourself that so many industries, so many people are involved day to day and they are doing amazing work. And I'm here actually to tell you what we do at DreamUps and Mosaic. These are 2 organizations I'm running, and I'll try to say. So we basically, our goal is to create a unicorn. An unicorn is a company that is valued at $1 billion US dollars. It's not about the valuation, but it's also the value, because to be valued at that valuation, you have to provide some sort of like really a product that is useful, a product that is valued by the customers. So this is what we aim for, to create here in Republic of Moldova a unicorn that is not used only by the locals, but also globally. And how we do that? So we have two things. So first of all, it's acceleration. And I will talk about the DreamUps organization. And at DreamUps, we basically run four schools, accelerators. So we have 1 startup school, 1 pre-accelerator, two accelerators. And we basically touch about 100 plus startup ideas. Not all of these ideas become a real startup, but at least they go through an acceleration program. And we also have about 200 mentors, locals and internationals. And for us, it's also important, by the way, to bring international knowledge into helping the local community to understand how to launch a product abroad. And we also do a conference. We have a licensed startup grind, an international event from Silicon Valley. And of course, we do have a podcast. So this is just a screenshot from our conference, DreamyCon. We also do something very interesting for Republic of Moldova. So, you know, of course, about Moldova IT Park, and majority of the residents there are actually companies that are doing outsourcing. And what we want to do is basically to switch their mindset into building the products with value added. So basically products that can be much more than offering services for someone, but actually building the products here. And what we do for that is 2 years ago we started a pilot project with Moldova IT Park, with the school, with the Berkeley School University, to actually bring here in Republic of Moldova a curricula about how to actually be a product manager, or how to have this thinking of building products. And we are continuing to do that, and we do that by launching our own product school, which is called Pivotal. And many, those who want to become a product owner or product manager, or who basically owns an IT company but wants to build their own product, they probably should be looking at this type of schools. All right, so now we accelerate these ideas, and of course some of them are very interesting, and we invest in some of them, and I will show you later our portfolio. So what we especially do, we want to invest in Moldovan founders. A Moldovan founder that is living abroad is still a Moldovan founder for us. And we believe that even if their headquarters is based in New York or somewhere else, the operational office will be here in Republic of Moldova. So this will allow actually to create more jobs and bring knowledge here. It's very important for a startup to have the main office in Moldova, because, for example, sales. Last week we had a conference just about sales and tech. And when I spoke at that conference, I mentioned specifically that startups that are having sales offices in other countries are not bringing that knowledge back in the Republic of Moldova. And we want to change that. We want even to sales offices, marketing offices to be here in the Republic of Moldova. So what we do at Mosaic. So we at Mosaic are an angel syndicate. So we connect investors, private investors with startups, and we provide them. Here's an example of Yuan is a founder that we invested, and he's presenting to a couple of investors. So what we actually do, we invest in early stage, very early. So we are basically first money in. We write checks about from 25K to 100K. We invest in these amazing companies that are not yet known, are not yet famous. So we are basically discovering them through our acceleration programs or through the ecosystem. We are discovering them before they are famous. So what we have right now, we were about 60 business angels, and we invested in the last two and a half years about 2 million. More startups and more investments are currently on the go, so if you are interested. I want to tell you about Mosaic. So we about a year and a half ago, we participated in Romania. There were 9 other Romanian potential funds that basically went through an acceleration program for venture funds, because our goal at Mosaic is at one point to become a venture fund to continue supporting our startups. We will be keeping and developing Angel Network as it is. But our aim is to actually be a proper venture fund, probably the first venture fund in Republic of Moldova. And our investment thesis was the winner at this event. So basically, from 9 potential funds from Romania, we, a Moldovan team, won the first place. And we did that, thank you. And we did that because of our investment thesis. And I will just briefly tell you one secret from that investment thesis. So what we do is actually a very unique deal flow. We have access to startups before the other investors have access. And this gives us a very good edge into investing in those startups. Actually, I have... So why our investors choose to invest through Mosaic or in our startups based in the Republic of Moldova? Of course, first of all, it's a longer runway. I personally invested in startups in US, and from the same amount of money, 25K, 100K, they burn very fast. It's very expensive to build a startup in the West. And building a startup here in Republic of Moldova, you have a longer runway, so you can try more, you can experiment more. Skilled technical talent, of course, we can build anything right now. And this is amazing because this is actually one advantage of being a post-Soviet Union country. We have a very good math skills. MIT PE incentives, of course, you already know about this. And I want to touch about the last one, so crossroads. Many times you think that we are in a disadvantage being in the Republic of Moldova, and of course, with a war next door and being at the edge of European Union, and small market gives you a disadvantage. But actually, this gives us an advantage to launch products globally from day one. Second, everyone is solving Americans' problems. Everyone is solving Western problems. All the startups are trying to tackle that huge market. Yet, there's unsolved, unserved markets. For example, we have a startup called Langley, which are tackling Latin America for learning English. So there's so many opportunities actually in serving underserved markets. And I believe in our country we can do that because we are basically underserved market. We have to localize a lot of solutions to our own needs, and we actually can build solutions for our needs and actually serve the other underserved markets. All right, so that's my last slide. If you want to become an investor, please reach to me. If you have a startup and a great idea, please also reach me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mihai. Thank you very much for presenting the vision and work of Mosaic. Your message highlights not only the growing importance of private capital in Moldova, but also the confidence that investors are placing in our technology startups. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have just heard is a powerful reminder that Moldova's strength lies in its people, in the institutions that empower, in the entrepreneurs who innovate, and in the communities that connect talent with opportunity. I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Codranu, Mrs. Hagivu, and Mr. Stepanov for sharing their experiences and vision. Thank you so much. If national programs provide the foundation, international capital is the fuel that allows businesses to scale, to innovate faster, and to compete on a global stage. Access to foreign investment funds is not only about money, it is about trust, governance, and long-term vision. And this brings us naturally to our next panel, Unlocking Capital for Moldova's Growth through Foreign Investment Funds. To guide us through this important discussion, I am delighted to introduce the moderator of this panel, Mr. Vasile Tofan, Senior Partner at Horizon Capital. With extensive experience in private equity and investment across Eastern Europe, Vasile has worked with some of the region's most dynamic companies and has helped shape strategies for growth and expansion. His knowledge of international capital flows and his close engagement with investors make him the ideal person to lead this panel. So, Vasile, it is my pleasure to hand over the floor to you. But just to introduce other panelists, I'm pretty sure that Vasily will manage it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Evelina. I welcome all the panelists on stage. Let's keep it short. It's Friday afternoon. We're going to cope with look, our biggest competitor for this panel.
We invite all the panelists to the stage. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Welcome. Okay, so look, doing a panel on a Friday, 3:30 p.m., this is an ungrateful job, you know that, right? We're going to compete with a, tendency to check out for the weekend or like the late lunch and so on. So let's make it an engaging, fast-paced, insightful, and not least entertaining panel. We do have a scheduling aspect we need to take into account. 2 of our panelists need to make it for the flight at 6:15, right? So you have a hard stop. I just checked, it takes 40 minutes to the airport, but you have a hard stop in, say, what, 25 minutes? That should be enough. 25 minutes. So, yeah, so that means we'll spend a little bit more time with Oksana and Zbigniew in the first part, and then we'll move to Alexandru and Galina for the latter part. But before we go into that, look, we're going to talk about unlocking capital for Moldova's growth. I think I don't have to make the case for capital here. It's clear why it's so important. So before we jump into it, let's go for quick introductions, like really quick introductions. We have some slides. My suggestion is to ditch the slides, but if you insist on having the slides, we still can put them on the screen. Let's keep it short, maybe 1 to maximum 3 minutes introductions. Zbigniew, should we start with you?
Thank you. Zbigniew Głuchowski, I work for ARP TFI. We are the fund management arm of one of Poland's development institutions. We have several of them. Is this the right moment to show the slides? Or
whenever you want, whenever you want. Just let's keep it short.
I mean, as long as we can handle showing the slides. I can do it without slides. No matter. Poland has several development institutions, 5 or 6 of them, trying to work together. Yeah, that's it. I'll stand up. It's a little pointless explaining what each one of them does. 6 institutions. They have probably contributed to the economic growth that we have had in Poland over the last 30 or so years. We suddenly woke up to realize that we are number 20 economy in the world. And that brings us to the point of redefining the world development. So far, for the last 30 years, we believe that development is bringing money to Poland to invest in our country. Now this new idea arises that development might actually be also about investing money from Poland in the other countries in the emerging markets. And one institution conspicuous by its absence from this chart is bilateral financial institution for development. Poland doesn't have anything like this. Our development bank, BGK, is making its first step in the role of an international development bank, but it will be some time before they develop. This is where we take our inspiration from, European Development Finance institutions. We are not there. We would like to one day join this club and be active in the countries where Poland has more interests, perhaps, than in some other countries. Why Moldova? That was one of the questions asked by Vasile. A rising tide that lifts all boats is what we expect to happen in Moldova. I looked up the economics data from the World Bank, and actually GDP per capita in Moldova today is almost exactly where it was in Poland when we were joining the European Union in 2004. We were rising up from that time. We hope you will do the same. And that will mean a lot of changes. Stabilization of currency, lower interest rates, appreciation of assets, rule of law, enforcement of contracts, general growth and improvement of living standards. We don't have a development finance institution, as I said. We are only starting to work on having one. And this would, I hope, be a forgiving environment for us to start. If everything improves in the country, it's a little harder to make mistakes in such a market. So that's what we hope for in Moldova. You have a landscape, an entire ecosystem of financial institutions coming to this market. This is the last slide. Where is our place? As financial equity investors, we want to bring equity to the market, perhaps also junior loans, subordinated debt. We don't see ourselves as strategic investors. We would like to work with Moldovan business, with the local sponsors, owners of the projects, and provide additional equity into their projects to make the job easier for the reputable banks like EBRD and the others. Thank you.
Well done, Zbigniew. I do encourage the other speakers to be even shorter than Zbigniew, to the extent possible.
I need a clicker too.
The clicker, please. It was...
Where do you point it? So I'll start.
Yeah, please start.
Yeah, my name is Oksana Strashna, and I am leading direct investments program of Ukraine-Moldova American Enterprise Fund. And direct investment program of UMIF was launched at the end of last year, but UMIF is well known in Moldova, and even during the Moldova Business Week, you could hear UMIF and our country head, Stella Gemna, announced the conclusions of many projects. So my understanding is that UMIF is very well known. The direct investment program, it sounds like, we launched it last year, it sounds like it's something new, but it's really just a restart of something we had for a while, and the investment program is something we have a lot of experience in. So just to come back to genesis of what is the UMIF Direct Investments Program, it all started in 1994 when Western NIS Enterprise Fund was capitalized with $150 million from the US government with the goal to make investments in newly independent states, including Ukraine and Moldova. So for the first approximately 10 years, till 2006, Western NIS Enterprise Fund was the largest investor in the region. In 2006, Western NIS Fund facilitated the creation of Horizon Capital, and both direct investments of Western NIS and investment in Horizon Capital allowed to unlock almost more than $3 billion into economies, bring into economies of both countries. When Horizon Capital was successfully established and subsequently became the leading private equity fund in the region, UMIF focused, Western NIS focused on business support programs until 2017. In 2017, the board identified a niche. There was need for capital for technology startups. So in 2017, a special investment program was launched and branded and established as a early stage venture fund, and it's called UVentures. And UVentures is a well-known investment fund, technology fund in Moldova, I believe. And then in 2024, following getting another funding from the US government, Western NIS decided to establish an investment program for small and medium-sized enterprises. At the same time, to underline that we are focused only on two countries or not on some ambiguous Western newly independent states, we renamed Western NIS Enterprise Fund into Ukraine-Moldova American Enterprise Fund. And just some numbers. So in total capitalization of the fund is $285 million. Of that amount, $190 million already invested. Of that amount, $52 million were invested directly in Moldova. So our track record in Moldova, original UMIF-NISEF investments are well-known companies such as GCC, GC Prim, Vitanta Brewery that was bought by FS Beverage Group, Naturu Bravo, and also a number of financial banks such as Fincom Bank, ProCredit, and MAIB. Through our investment in Horizon Capital Funds, we have exposure, we have presence in Moldova, in Purcari wineries, and again, MAIB. And the most recent direct investments done through U-Ventures are Bloom Coding, Fagura, Aspect Health. And I can stop the slides right here. So what are we focusing on right now? We are looking for smaller sized companies that are looking to attract $1 to $5 million. Western NIS, Horizon Capital have a successful business model that we continue to follow. We invest in minority stakes. Our plan is to support already existing competent management teams and driven, ambitious founders. We are generally sector agnostic. Also, you can see that our successful experience is in a lot of it's in consumer goods, and we're generally focused on real sector companies. Our expertise is in equity investments, but we understand that small businesses need a little bit more flexibility. So we're also open to making quasi-equity, mezzanine debt type investments as well. I think I covered everything quickly.
Thank you so much, Oksana. Yeah, full disclosure, Oksana and I are colleagues of sorts. So if you get the impression I'm favoring her in any way, please, that's why. But I will try to be equidistant. Though it's a fantastic fund, I encourage you to consider it. So let's go with maybe Galina and then you, Alexandru.
Thank you. I don't insist on presentations, on slides. I understand the constraints, but as long as that presentation gets delivered to your email inboxes, I'm fine. So my name is Galina Cicanci. I represent International Finance Corporation. I'm the country officer for Moldova. The International Finance Corporation is the private sector arm of the World Bank Group. So as you may know, we are several institutions in the group of which IDA and IBRD, properly called the World Bank, they lend to the public sector, while IFC provides financing to the private sector, and our sister institution MIGA is the one that takes care of guarantees, of investment guarantees, which I can also cover today if there is interest. And there's also ICSID, which is basically arbitration for investors. What can we offer generally? So we probably are the least constrained in the financial instruments that we can provide. We are not really constrained in geographies as we operate globally. And we discuss with private sector starting from what their needs are. These can be debt instruments, loans and bonds. These can be equity or quasi-equity, more mezzanine instruments, depending on the specific situation. We can invest in funds, we can do financial sector, we can do real sector. I would not say completely sector agnostic, but almost sector agnostic. In the case of Moldova, we are really not targeting a specific sector, but we would really much like to support the development of the country in infrastructure, in energy, in industry, manufacturing, services, and real estate. All of those areas that are really needed by the country. I'm open to answer questions as they come in.
Thank you, Galina. Look, I'm watching Oksana and Zbigniew. Guys, how are you with time? When do you have to leave? 4 p.m. We have another 9 minutes. Do we have a taxi for our guests?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. So look, let's stay for eight more minutes because I want to do a little things with you. Maybe very brief intro from Alexander, but really brief, and then we'll have the chance to introduce a little bit longer after the guys leave.
Perfect. We like brief. So, first of all, great to be here with you today and share the EBRD perspective and our contribution. I have been with the EBRD for over 20 years, working across sectors in various positions and working both in the public sector and private sector, corporate. Regarding EBRD, for those who don't know of us, we are the largest institutional investor in the Republic of Moldova. We are here since 1992. Moldova, along with 74 other countries, is a shareholder in EBRD. So far, we have invested have made a cumulative investment of about 2.8 billion euros since our start of operation here. About 44% of those is in the private sector. The current portfolio of projects stands at about 1.1 billion euros. And since the war in Ukraine has started, we have invested in Moldova over 1.3 billion euros. In terms of the delivery, we have always partnered with the likes of the EU, who have generously contributed and supported many of our projects with the grant financing and otherwise to make them affordable where necessary. In terms of focus areas, we work also basically across sectors and quite agnostic in that sense, both on public and private sectors, but we have been focusing lately on access to finance and SMEs and to the corporate sector, and that's including through financial institutions. We have supported infrastructure and connectivity. We have supported the energy sector, particularly with the renewable angle more recently as well, and of course trade finance. We also support small businesses through our advice for small business, and we try to basically respond to the needs on the market in the best way I can. So our headquarters is in London, but we have a very strong office here. Come talk to us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Look, now 1 minute each, literally. Applause for BRD. Thank you for the 1.3 billion euros. So literally 1 minute each answers from our two guests who have to leave. So maybe I'll start with you, Zbigniew. So Poland, as you've shown, is, say, 20 years ahead. What are the, say, key learnings you have from the perspective of Polish entrepreneurs that you would share with Moldovan entrepreneurs? 1 minute.
Low-hanging fruit is easy to pick. It doesn't take that much to launch the growth. It gets trickier later on. It's much more difficult to maintain your growth than to start it. When everybody is doing things wrong in the market, you have someone coming to the market doing things right, and it's easy. The business grows. After some years, everybody is doing everything right. Then it really gets competitive. Then it gets hard. And to reach the level of the Western Europe, you need to continue catching up, growing faster than everybody else for 10, 20, 30 years. This is where the difficulty is.
Great. By the way, don't stress out. 35 minutes to the airport. It's all fine. So, Oksana, question to you. All of you offer capital, but maybe you can offer more than capital. So what is your proposition around value add? Stuff beyond capital that you can offer to businesses?
Okay, it's okay. Of course, we believe we are a value add investor. And what we can offer, well, first of all, our experience, right? So we've done deals, we invested in companies in various sectors in Ukraine and in Moldova, so we have international experience, and we know what worked, what didn't work. So we can apply lessons we learned in our previous investments to new portfolio companies. We also have a network of contacts that we can share with our portfolio companies and help them, whether it's the, like lean in manufacturing experts or whether it's entering new markets. We know somebody. We also have our partner organization, Horizon Capital, and we can rely on the experience they're bringing to the table, on their know-how, but also on like the infrastructure that their portfolio companies are building. So I think this is a very kind of unique and relatively new value proposition when some of our consumer goods companies in Ukraine already actively cooperating with retail investments of Horizon Capital, and we know that we can strengthen that partnership. In addition to this kind of like introductions and sharing experiences and sharing value add, we also do have like technical assistant component to our investments. So for strategic projects, we can co-finance with the company.
Yeah, fully endorsing what Oksana says. I think this is a great investment, not only for capital. Last thing we're doing, we have 3 minutes. Guys, we're going to do something fun. So look, I'm going to do a rapid fire. You answer literally one word to my questions, and we go very fast. Starting from you, grab your mics. Zbigniew, grab your mic. Everybody grabs the mic. Right? So we're going to go very fast. So we let these two guys go on a high. Rapid fire, just one answer, one question per, one answer, one word per question, you understand? First, considering an investment, the one most important thing you consider in a business. Zbigniew.
Partners.
Trust.
Vision.
Deal.
Deal, okay. So here's the pragmatist from IFC. Zbigniew. Domestic business or exporter?
Both.
Both.
Moldova, both. Ukraine, both. Moldova, export.
Good. Galina?
Both.
Both. Okay. It's getting trickier. Zbigniew, IT or agriculture?
Surprising response. Agriculture.
Cross-sectoral, all.
Oksana?
Choosing between IT and agriculture, I would choose value-added agriculture.
Agriculture. Galina?
Value-added agriculture,
okay,
but I
nice
would
one.
consider doing both.
Even more trickier. Energy or consumer goods? Zbigniew?
Energy.
Sorry, the question is? Energy?
Energy or consumer goods?
Both.
Guys, you're making...
Consumer goods.
I want to force you in a choice. Galina?
Energy.
Energy. We have 1 more minute. Rapid growth or risk management? Zbigniew?
Risk management.
Oh my God.
Risk management.
So boring.
Rapid growth.
Yeah.
Risk management.
So you get it, right? Where you should go for the money. So almost last one. When will Moldova join the EU? You have to say the year.
In 5 years, 2030.
Okay, we heard it.
28, 29 according to the government.
2029, Oksana.
29.
29, Galina.
29.
2028 here, we signed the accession treaty by December 2028. Most important question, Galina, we'll start with you. Mamaliga or Placinte?
Placinte.
Oksana?
Placinte.
Alexandru?
Placinte.
Zbigniew?
Pork chop.
Okay, last, the most important one. Zbigniew with you. Moldovan wine or French wine?
Of course, Moldovan.
Alexandru?
Moldovan wine.
Oksana?
Purcare?
Excellent answer, Galina.
Of course, Moldovan.
At least on one thing we all agree. Okay, guys, we're letting two of our guests go, Oksana and Zbigniew, and we'll zoom in on EBRD and IFC. Zbigniew, thank you so much. Look, it was short but fun. Thank you. I'll come closer. Okay, so look, we had to improvise a little bit, but that's what entrepreneurs do. So now we'll go in more depth with two of the, say, most important international development institutions we have in Moldova. So, which I think is great. We have this chance to do so. So let's go a little bit in deeper on this. We'll start with EBRD. So Alexandru, you made a brief intro. So you're doing all kind of things. Maybe you can speak a little bit more about your equity product. I think you're very known about that. You're doing it via banks, you're doing it directly, but tell us what you're looking for when you're considering equity investments.
Thank you very much for the question. Indeed, we are quite selective about equity, and you know, for us it has to be a value proposition. We have to make sure we are able to add value by our contribution there. So first of all, the question would appear, why equity? So it has to be really the appropriate instrument, not just because a company needs to raise money, but it needs to raise money through equity. So the question arises, can it be financed by debt because it's cheaper? Equity is riskier from an investor standpoint, so it's of course a little bit more expensive. It has to reflect the risks and the needs. Sometimes, of course, you know, due to cash flows appearing later in the cycle or for various other reasons, equity may be relevant, but at the same time, we need to make sure it's the most appropriate instrument. For us, in light of the mandate that we have is to develop, to contribute to the creation of, I don't know, of an enabling environment, to the development of companies that would be supporting, we would normally take a minority stake, so we would not be controlling, we would not be taking over ownership or decision-making in the company. So we would let the company pursue its natural course with the value added, maybe like at board level, providing the advice. We would also be there for the short to medium term, ideally, because we would like to develop the company, and then, of course, part of the entry would also be, we would be looking at the exit. And what do I mean by that? We need to ensure that we are supporting the development towards an exit. Normally we would sell to a strategic investor, either our stake or together with the owner that we have co-invested with. So the original owner, so to say. An equity case would be to attract a strategic investor in a particular company, in a particular industry. So in that sense, we can invest without a strategic investor originally, so that the company then grows together with our contribution and us to be able to attract the strategic investor in the industry. So that's kind of from that perspective. But so we are a financial investor in that perspective. We are focused on creating value added through you know, our participation in the board, as I mentioned. We also participate both in private equities, but also in public equities as well. So we can support companies to pursue an IPO, or we can participate in IPO and attract a strategic investor in that manner as well. So it can also be you know, in trying to respond to capital increase needs. So we are quite versatile in that perspective. We invest, of course, when we speak equity, it's quite multifaceted, and about that we can kind of speak later with another occasion. But we are differentiating between like classic debt and then we have mezzanine debt, which is a quasi-equity instrument. So we do that. We do direct equity, which is the instrument that most of us know, like straight equity in the shareholding of a company. But we also do intermediated kind of finance through investment funds. And Horizon Capital would be an example, and that you would be most familiar with.
No, and thank you for making us actually. No, thank you.
Okay. So that's so in a way we try to reach various niches, various needs in various modalities, and I guess if this is the appropriate moment to discuss maybe about the investment vehicles or philosophy around funds, but we can leave it for later as well.
Yeah,
Tell me
maybe
where
we'll
you
leave
want
it
me
for
to
later.
start.
Just to give, thank you so much for this comprehensive answer. And I think, look, we need more equity in Moldova. Bottom line, I think there's a lot of debt. To be honest, I think even I'll say a provocative thing. So for EBRD and IFC, it's actually difficult now to compete with the local banks because there's a lot of liquidity. I think the banks are very entrepreneurial, trying to provide a lot of debt. So I would say debt is quite abundant. I think on the equity side is where we need more. Galina, IFC, you said risk management as opposed to rapid growth to my provocative rapid fire. Tell us about the top deal breakers you see in a potential deal.
Yeah,
be as open as possible, and if needed also maybe overly brutally honest about this,
Well, that's an ungrateful role,
I know.
I
That's why I'm
prefer
asking.
to speak about deal makers, not deal breakers, but yeah, let's be honest. Okay, so I will try to list a few. Well, a deal breaker can be when a company is looking only for concessionality, so concessional terms of funds. IFIs are not necessarily about concessionality. IFIs bring development capital. This is about long-term partnership. This is about access to knowledge, to technical assistance. It's about patient capital that can wait for returns. And it's a signal, most important of all, it's a signal to capital markets that you can invest in this company. It's a trustworthy partner. So cheaper funds will probably come to anyone when you have broad access to capital markets and a choice of sources, but that comes later than IFIs come in. So another deal breaker, I believe, can be investors who don't want to have skin in the game. We look at companies and investors who are able and are willing to finance 30 to 50% of their projects because they need to believe in their projects more than we do. And they show that belief by investing their own money and risking their own money. So that's why in the same line of thought, we don't support and we believe it can be a deal breaker when you pursue excessive leverage. When you want to grow so ambitiously that you go into debt more than you can take. And that's a deal breaker, and we often see that in the region, in Moldova as well. A deal breaker is when the investor pushes against adopting IFRS and audits, which means transparency and is critical for sound decision making, both for the investor and for us. Well, a deal breaker is when you push back against adopting environmental and social standards. So things which are important for people, for the economy, for country, not just for making money. So I don't pretend it's an exhaustive list. You can have all kinds of situations, but hopefully when a company matures, those get resolved.
No, and by the way, Elena, thank you for being so straightforward about this one. I think even to me, somebody who's, I think, quite experienced with investment, that was a very useful list. So thank you for being so open about it. And by the way, I think it's very useful for people to understand. For example, the point about IFRS and audit financials, like we also sometimes get businesses, they come to us and they tell us, yeah, but you know, I pay 20% of my 20% of my costs are paid in envelope, you know, so we cannot do businesses like this. So you have to be ready to run transparent businesses if you want to engage with the esteemed institutions like EBRD and IFC, and maybe that's the price to pay. In addition to the moral reasons and the legal reasons, to be honest, too. Back to you, Alexandru. The growth plan. So over 2 billion euros are going to be invested in Moldova. EBRD also has a strategy aligned to making most of that growth plan, enabling private capital. So what is the role of EBRD in that growth plan for Moldova, I mean? And what is your advice to the companies in leveraging opportunities both on the growth plan side and how does EBRD play there?
Well, certainly the EU growth plan is, you know, a great opportunity for Moldova ahead of us, and I think together with other multilateral development institutions, we'll share in the joy of making it happen. We certainly see ourselves as a key implementing partner going forward. We have proposed quite a number of projects to be included in the strategic pipeline. You know, it has the reform agenda, but it also has the investment component to underpin the growth going forward. So we see quite a lot of potential in the infrastructure sector, so that includes both national and municipal or sub-sovereign. That's you know, from water, irrigation, hazardous waste management, you know, the urban enhancement investments of various sorts for Moldovan localities to make them more livable. It's also in the energy sector. It's also support to SMEs, also in the energy sector, as I mentioned, there is great potential to support renewables. So in that context, we see quite good potential for the IFIs to get involved, for ourselves, in particular on these counts, and also for the private investors to pursue these opportunities. In terms of what are the more exact what is the more exact potential there for the privates? Well, first of all, you would see that most of these projects are in the public sector still, because investing in the infrastructure in the public, it creates an enabling environment for the economy as a whole, for the companies to grow. But it will take private companies to implement all those nice initiatives. So there will be a great market for suppliers, for contractors, for consultants. So I think watch for that. In terms of the financing opportunities, and I would like to mention here, we at EBRD have at least 3 ways that you can watch the upcoming potential. That's the potential transactions. That you can find them in our project summary documents, which are published on EBRD website to see what deals are now in the making before they are approved. Then we also have 2 procurement portals for EBRD-led or client-led procurement, where you could see which contracts are already being tendered. So this will be very important for all sorts of opportunities, and of course the slides can be shared later with you. So in that sense, we can support both the project preparation phase, where we would need private support in the persons of consultants, for example, but also on the implementation side. Again, this would be specialist companies, of course, construction industry, everything which is in that domain will need a proper boost. Also, they will need financing from the local banks, from the IFIs, to make sure they can cope with these new opportunities coming up. And here I would also like to mention the fact that we don't only work in a direct finance, we also work through local banks by providing them credit lines so that they can provide the smaller loans to the economy. We also work with the local banks through our risk-sharing facilities, which is basically like kind of like a credit line, because it can be funded, in which way then resembles more of a traditional credit line where you provide money. It can be thematic or not, but it's also unfunded, which means it's more like a guarantee. So we can take up to 50 or 60% of the loans issued by a particular bank, and we basically underwrite that guarantee, which means that we help the local banks to offload their balance sheets so that they can lend more. Okay, so I think we try to help both directly and indirectly through the local banks. We try to be as creative and inventive as possible to address the needs.
No, very important. This last product I confirm, very, very important, at least for the bank I have the privilege to serve. Galina, very short question to you, and I want to open it to the audience. Prepare your questions, maybe 1-2 questions, short questions, and some concluding remarks. Very good. So Galina, a quick question on the capital markets. We opened there was the ceremony of opening the new stock exchange here. IFC may help on this journey for companies, to prepare for a listing or for bond issuance. Any commentary on that, and can IFC play a role?
The short answer is yes, we do play a role, and to exemplify, 2 days ago IFC has anchored the first issue of a healthcare social bond with a Georgian healthcare group, a first-time bond issuer, to finance the construction of an oncology clinic and to expand the network in the rural and underserved areas of Georgia. So the bond issue was in local currency, equivalent of 130, I believe, million US dollars, of which we have anchored, subscribed just 15. What did we do? How did we help the issuer? So we basically worked together to help them structure the bond offering. We offered to anchor those first 15 million, and we mobilized the others. So for each dollar that we invested, we mobilized 8 more from other financiers. The company would probably not be able to do that alone. So that's our role. We brought the others. As a result, I think the bond issue was oversubscribed more than like 130%. That's an illustration of the role that we play. So we work with the potential issuer to first prepare the company, prepare the offering, anchor the issue, mobilize the others, negotiate on behalf of the entire pool of the creditors, the conditions that would fit best the company, but also motivate investors to invest. That's an important role when the company goes for the first time to capital markets. Maybe they don't need us later. And then to illustrate how to prepare for an IPO, everyone knows Purcari. So we invested in Purcari in 2008, a tiny amount of $5 million US dollars. We increased our equity participation in 2013, you know better than me, because the company needed more capital at that point in time. I think our role with equity is a bit different than in bonds case. We don't take controlling stakes, we don't take over companies, we remain minority shareholder, we don't take operational roles, we don't appoint management directly. But we are really keen to see that the company gains maturity and sophistication in what means, growing from an SME type of company to a more like a corporation type of company, which means not relying on one man, key man, but relying on systems, formalizing procedures, introducing internal controls at all governance levels, everything that we call corporate governance, so that the company functions as a secure mechanism, that can support further growth, that can weather crisis. I would not say that we are like the most important, but all the companies that we work and we invest in and which aim to become public companies by IPOs, we do have a role to play. We know what we offer. So it's corporate governance, it's implementing systems, it's building the operations, and of course access to global TA and knowledge in case the company really needs that.
Thank you, Galina. By the way, it's an underlooked instrument, I have to say, because yes, there's a lot of bank liquidity here, but it's typically the banks want collaterals, and the banks lend for short term. But the company should explore even small bond issuances. For example, on IRO market in Romania, you can issue a bond for maybe €1 million or €2 million unsecured. Yes, higher yield, you'll pay high yield, so it's going to be mezzanine-like bond maybe, but I think it's certainly something to be explored more. So the entrepreneurs in Moldova who say they don't have access to long-term financing, it means maybe that they should look a little bit more also to out-of-the-box instruments like capital market instruments. Okay, let's open it to, thank you so much, Galina, by the way, for mentioning Purcari. IFC backed Purcari, we did IPO together, and that's, I think, a major success story. And if IFC stayed longer in Purcari, would have made another 2.5 times the money, but you exited earlier. So you have to back the strong companies.
Vasily, we exit when our development role is over.
Nice
we need
answer.
to justify staying longer. If the company has good access without us, we need to exit and move to another company.
You see, she has answers, good answers to all the provocative questions. Okay, let's open it to the room. Who has questions?
Your Excellencies, there is a known fact that Moldova small and medium enterprises lack a little bit of transparency, scale, and maybe trust as well. This is what is needed in the first place when foreign funds and investors want to invest somewhere. What would you, all of you, advise for small and medium enterprise companies to do in order to be a little bit more attractive to the foreign investment funds, and what would you advise the government to do in order to facilitate these connections?
Thank you. Maybe let's keep it to 30 seconds, like really, really short. Galina, Alexandru?
Okay, I think, for the local SMEs, I think they should explore the markets they are actually targeting and not being shy to join forces. And I think there is, for some reason, a culture that, there is a business, for some reason, stays a family business for kind of too long. So there should be a culture of sharing, maybe inviting, equity partners at a later stage, which is really another springboard to another level. So maybe thinking, to the exploring the growth strategies and being ready to share in the growth.
Galina?
Well, in the same line of thought, if you don't want to share equity, maybe you create other type of partnership consortiums with the larger regional firms for which you can cover locally, No, I would say a more commercial type of partnership, contractual relationships that would help you grow and reach a scale that is interesting for bigger investors. So yes, aim at bigger scale, because small size, small possibilities, you are right. But also think strategically, you need to have a strategy, not just size. You need to have a clear strategy where you want to go, what you want to achieve, and stay transparent. Transparency, as you said, is key.
Transparency being a nice word for pay your taxes, don't do tax avoidance. Okay. So, any other questions?
Yep. Hi, my name is Octavian. So the question is as follows. So I would like to touch upon the topic with equity. Why companies that have a balance sheet with, let's say, $500,000 do not get that much attention from funds like you? And how that could be solved, if that's possible, and maybe create some kind of a standardized type of a product that would decrease transaction costs for you, because I'm assuming that's one of the reasons maybe why you don't go into that region. So that's the question. Why companies that are a bit smaller to medium, so to say, for Moldovan standards, do not get equity investments?
Let me respond that for IFC. Not just equity, but also debt instruments. We cannot compete. We don't want to compete with the local financial sector. If the company is of a size which can be serviced by local financial institutions, it is their business to do. We need to come in where they cannot, where there is a market failure and we are needed, at bigger sizes. Yes, economies of scale matter because bringing teams from the region, for us, our office is very small, bringing teams on a case-by-case basis is a cost that is not justified by a $500,000 balance sheet. So we need to, we reach to smaller companies through local commercial banks by investing in equity funds which target smaller tickets. We have a lot of other examples in other countries. I hope to be able to exemplify in Moldova, where we invest in equity funds and those equity funds then distribute smaller tickets. It works more reasonable for us.
Yeah, I would like to add, indeed, the competition is one of the topics. So indeed, we in our investments, we try to be additional. We would not squeeze out somebody who is already able to do such an investment. And usually for at such, let's say, size level that was mentioned, usually the financing needs can be quite fairly easily covered by loans from local commercial banks. Again, so we, for example, provide this credit line so that local banks can address such a need. But beyond this, think of this also in these terms. There are institutions who have their particular mandates. We have a development mandate, and there are other businesses like venture capital funds. There are grassroots funds, but who would be much more, much closer to the development stage that that respective company at, and they are better geared to respond to it. Looking back to EBRD or the MDBs, kind of in general, as I mentioned, we would look forward to investing in a minority stake. So let's say it's 15-20%, but also the thresholds from which such an investment becomes attractive, say 5-10 million and above, is already quite indicative from what size of companies can those be for this investment to be meaningful, if this is a minority stake. Okay, plus indeed the project preparation costs, you need to spend quite a bit on legal due diligence, company assessment, and usually SMEs. For SMEs, this would be quite a significant cost. So when I mentioned about our investment in equities, it's quite important for us to explore, is equity really the best way to bring finance if the need is actually financing in itself? Okay. So why is this the best instrument considered by that company? Okay, because if debt finance is much cheaper, it's quite easy to structure, quite accessible generally on markets. Okay, but then institutions have their own mandates and they have to abide by that. So in that case, you would see more of a venture capital or investment funds that are in the making. And we've seen today interest from the Polish colleagues who look forward to setting up funds, and other colleagues that we've been discussing on the aisles just before this panel. And also, if I can add a little bit from what would be, whether an investment fund is meaningful for Moldova. Yes, it is. I was asked earlier, but at the same time, it should be carefully structured. Ideally, it should be sector agnostic, because there is no single sub-industry or sector in Moldova which has a sufficient number of targets to justify a fund created particularly just for agribusiness or just for manufacturing and services. So it's best to have a wider mandate, but then to carefully structure such deals, look forward to the appropriate sizes to properly develop the investment strategy. And we can discuss that later with some of you that have asked.
No, thank you. You understand that the legal fees are going to be larger than the equity check. So that's the short answer. So that's...
Equity, not loans, right?
Yeah, maybe we can discuss it after the session. I think this covered primarily the loan side, but if you run the numbers, look, if the company, say, has a value of even $1 million, and most institutions will take minority stakes, so say they take like even a 20% stake, it's going to be a 200,000 ticket, but then you spend on lawyers, you know, the same amount and due diligence and everything. So unfortunately, it's just not practically feasible. Okay, so look, I think here we are. That was a challenging time to do a panel, right? Friday afternoon, worst time. We'll remember that, Natalia. You know, but on a serious note, I really want to thank the team of Invest Moldova. This is one of the last panels, and I read this post today that you know, some Romanian investors who came here and participated in this Invest Moldova organized Moldova Business Week series of event, said something, I'm not quoting right maybe, that as you look at the dynamism around these events, you distrust the official GDP figures. I mean, so good the events and the dynamism are, in contrast to maybe not extremely bullish GDP figures we have. So Natalia, thank you for and the entire team, Evelina, you know, like Irina, all the guys. Thank you for the event you've created. Really impressive. I think now the country and the business community have to, you know, raise up to the level set up by the Moldova Business Week in terms of the event. So I think it's up to us, the business, to raise up to this team, who, by the way, works for government and receives government salaries. You know, so this is, I think, also an indication that you know, with passion and energy, you can do great things in Moldova. Thank you very much, also to the team. Thank you to our panelists.
Vasily, allow me to extend heartfelt thanks for moderating this panel with such clarity and depth. I'm pretty sure the audience liked and appreciated the interactive, energetic, and full of joy, positive way in which you've moderated the panel. A sincere thank also for our panelists, Mr. Zbigniew, Mrs. Oksana, Mr. Kosovan, and Ms. Galina Cicanci for sharing your expertise and perspectives. As we conclude today's event, I want to express my deepest gratitude to all our distinguished guests and participants. Throughout this afternoon, we have heard perspectives from the European Commission, from national leaders, from entrepreneurs, and from global investment funds. Each voice added a piece to the bigger picture, how to unlock capital for Moldova's growth. The message is clear: Moldova has the potential, the resilience, and the partners it needs to succeed. But the future depends on what we do next. It depends on how boldly we act, how consistently we reform, and how strongly we build partnerships. On behalf of the Invest Moldova agency, allow me to thank you for your active participation and valuable contributions. This dialogue continues beyond this room, I'm pretty sure, in the decisions you make, in the collaborations you develop, and in the investments which will shape Moldova's future. So, thank you for joining us today. Applause for